Nice.
Hi. All right, we will go ahead and get started. So welcome to this June 27th, June 27th, 2022 meeting of the Information Technology Industry Sector Council. For the record, I'm Amy Fleming. I am the Program Development and Engagement Specialist with the Governor's Office of Workforce Innovation. We will go ahead and get started with roll call. We do have a number of voting members traveling, but I think I think almost everyone's here, but we'll go ahead and get started. So please, we'll do a roll call of voting members. So when you hear your name called, please just let me know that you're present. Alan Darney.
Present.
Dasha Duckworth.
Present.
Derek Jimfy. I see you there, Derek. There we go. Vas Kamishno.
Yeah, close enough. Present.
Close. Edwana Malone. Where she's traveling. Jim New.
I'm here.
Hello. And Emily Walker. Wonderful. Well, I hereby affirm that this June 27th, 2022 Information Technology Industry Sector Council has reached a quorum. I can also confirm that the agenda and notice for this meeting was properly posted pursuant to Nevada's open meeting law, NRS 241.020. So we can now move on to approval of minutes. So if you are a voting member, you should have received minutes prior to this meeting. So is there any discussion before I call for a motion to approve the March 28th, 2022 minutes?
Dasha Duckworth, I move to approve the minutes.
Beautiful.
Jim
Is there-
Newell, second.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Pass as well. Read the
All right.
minutes. They look good.
And so all in favor, you can go ahead and say aye.
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 Any opposed? And abstentions? Then please let the record reflect that the motion carries. And that was your first vote of this sector council. Congratulations.
Ooh, exciting.
Very exciting, I know. All right, so we will go into agenda item number 4, which is just a quick reflection and highlighting of today's topic. So first, I just wanted to reflect on behalf of our organization and the Governor's Workforce Development Board to thank you for participating last quarter and this quarter. The first meeting, we were able to garner significant feedback from the industry and had heard from partners and employers after that meeting that they had begun to engage to address some of the issues that were highlighted. So just wanted to express that and some gratitude there. For today's meeting, we know that the details varied slightly between each sector, but there was definitely a common theme, and that was that there is an urgent demand for talent. And it doesn't take much beyond just reading the headlines to understand that that's the case, but our state is not escaping that. So we've made a little bit of adjustments to the prompts for introductions to dive into a little bit more detail here, and to see how some of these specific trends are changing within the technology industry. We've also invited a few partners to address opportunities to work with populations that they serve that are traditionally overlooked, hoping to open the door to workforce in a different way. So I will ask, please be mindful of the agenda item. I'll help to reiterate what we're focusing on, whether it's employer feedback and introductions or partner introductions, but please just be mindful of that as we go through the meeting. And you can go ahead and introduce yourself using the chat, just as you would before or after a meeting in person. You're welcome to introduce yourself, share your contact information, and you are also welcome to use the chat to pose any questions during the presentations that you would like the presenter to address. Okay, So I'm going to move to agenda item number 5, which are employer introductions. Oh, I'm sorry. One more thing is if you, especially if you're a voting member, if you're able to keep your camera on, it does just help with that engagement component. If you are not a voting member, you are also welcome to keep your camera on it's helpful just to see your faces. All right, so with that, we will move on to employer introductions. So we'll start with any direct employers in the technology sector. You can go ahead and start raising your hand using the Zoom feature to queue up. And then we'll move on to partners that work closely with employers to get their feedback for this sector as well. I'm going to put the prompt in the chat as a reminder. Okay, so for these introductions, beginning with those employers in this industry, please introduce yourself with your name, your company, and your role in that company. And then as specific as you can be with the top in-demand, hard to fill or urgent to fill roles. This is something that's really hard for us to garner from labor market data or job posting data immediately. So it's really, really helpful to hear that directly from employers. We'd also love to hear again any acute challenges or barriers to attracting or retaining talent, and any notable changes that may have occurred over the past 3 months since our first meeting. And then finally here, if you are able to provide a quick summary of any talent attraction resources or practices that have been particularly fruitful. We'd love to hear what's working well for you in this industry. And then any that you may be interested to try or curious about or would just love to explore a little bit more. We'd love to hear that from you too. Okay. So with that, I don't see any hands raised, so I'm going to start calling on you. All right, Dasha, thank you for getting us started here. Go ahead.
Sure. So Dasha Duckworth, I'm the strategic HR business partner for Motional. For those of you who don't know who we are developing self-driving vehicles. So top in demand, hard to fill are all the same, which is engineering. So we have a number of positions that we struggle to fill here in Las Vegas for people who do testing and software, cybersecurity, what else am I struggling with? Vehicle integration. So a lot of the engineering roles are very hard. And so we're oftentimes having to go elsewhere and relocate them to here, which creates its own challenges because people who've never lived here, it's putting together those resources and having both internal and external connections. Years ago, I worked in food manufacturing and would partner with hospitals because if I could get a manager in manufacturing, maybe their family member was in medical and partnerships work. So that is always something I will throw out to anybody who will listen to me, is where people can partner across industries is helpful because people sometimes come with others with them into the Valley. Most notable changes for us over the last 3 months is as the market, between inflation and housing and more companies deciding to be remote or hybrid, that creates its own dialogue because we have many positions that people have to actually be on site for. And so the conversation of whether or not you can work from home when you have to be in the office is its own challenge. And Vegas is not as cheap as it used to be. So that's a conversation I think we have to have as an industry and as a location and as a state collectively, is let's be real about the cost of living so that we can be real about wages. And then it all boils down to, where I work with Workforce Connection boards here in Las Vegas, trying to partner with UNR, UNLV, CSN, all the educational routes to help people understand what route they need to take. And not everybody needs a college education by any wild stretch of the imagination, but I think collectively one of the biggest challenges we have is most youth don't know what's available and they don't even know how to get to it. So I think collectively we have to do better at helping even at the late elementary school age stage of like what exists in our state to keep them here so that they don't feel like they have to move somewhere else or go to school somewhere else. I think I answered all the questions.
That's great. Thank you so much for that. Yes, go ahead, Voss. I see your hand there.
Thanks, Amy. Info from my end. So my name is Vas, and I run local in Reno, Nevada, Northern Nevada, software development company. We are not big. We're a small team of 10, kind of relatively small. But our nature is building various projects, like mostly working with the Bay Area. I mean, it's cool. We're getting California money to here, but like working in the cutting edge technology, and the shift that we experience and the problems that we face is around these engineers, software developers, and especially with mobile app development. And lately, kind of we've started to see more projects involve like blockchains and NFTs in particular. So like the potential clients are asking and we have to respond. And obviously right now, for example, we have like 2 open local vacancies around mobile app development. And the biggest challenge is that in our field, that the technology involves and evolves so fast that we cannot really find people who can even talk our terminology. So for example, we built on so-called framework Flutter 3.0, and it's a big framework backed by Google. But for example, when we are looking for candidates, if someone has experience of 2 years with that stuff, it's considered a veteran, so it's like 2 years. And that is not helping. The rate of change here, I think what we experience is like kind of in comparison to corporations who work on their like technology stack and they keep it going, then they're kind of less flexible, and we have to be most efficient and quick to develop projects for others, meaning we have to be on this cutting edge. And that's the example. So we cannot, like, when I talk to people, they just don't know what this stuff is before even like kind of trying to talk serious about the job. So that's why we are considering kind of internal training and such for that, because like people, it's all self-learned. There's not much available in the universities, colleges, elsewhere. And also another thing, it relates to the war that goes in Ukraine. Actually, interesting like perspective. I don't know if you guys would find it interesting, but we have partially team here, partially in Europe. So what we see from Europe is like, we know that a lot of American development for startups and such been outsourced to Russia and Belarus, and now those countries are closed and a lot of people don't want to work with them anymore, which is cool, fair. But it's created like a vacuum in even outsourcing. So it raised the prices. Those who could escape moved to other countries, and even in Europe to get like outsourcing, it becomes difficult. So that's why it raises the prices there, and so it's good kind of for local hiring, because then, like, yes, local talent can step in, because people from the area cannot find guys to outsource, and then they can hire local guys. But at the same time, again, there is a vacuum in educational and technological advances here. So it's either super expensive personnel, or people who do not know what even we are talking about. So that's kind of my perspective on the subject.
That's super helpful, and I think a valuable perspective we don't hear from other industries as much when we're talking about the impact of changes in access to outsourced talent. So super helpful there. Thank you. Other employers in the technology industry. Go ahead, Reggie. I see you come off mute.
Yeah, hi, everybody. My name is Reggie Richardson, defense contractor and cybersecurity expert. Background on me, we were doing cybersecurity in 1997 before it was a thing. We've got a lot of notoriety here in Las Vegas, working with Switch. We've been on 2 international trade missions with the governor to Australia and Canada. We know our trade very well, and I've heard, 2 people that need help in this area, one with automotive and one with software development. We've actually done cybersecurity assessments on companies with footprints in Ukraine, Pakistan, Germany, Singapore. So we're very familiar with those environments. We're very familiar with SCADA systems that's going to be associated with your 802.11, I believe it's Y, for the cars and stuff. So I'm very familiar with that information as well. So what we've done is we ran into the same problem you guys have. It is hard to find people, and then more importantly, retain people once they get a certain level of skill sets. It's difficult. So what we've done, we're in the process of doing, and I've gotten 2 people so far employed for us, but we're developing our pipeline. We wrote up our cybersecurity apprenticeship program that was approved by the Department of Labor. And we're now starting to implement that. I think it's just grown. I just had a meeting this morning. So I'm about 14 in my pipeline. And what we're trying to do is the Department of Defense has a cybersecurity maturity model mandate that all companies must have. And they must have some level of cybersecurity hygiene. This is a really big deal. It's like 80,000 companies. And we are going to be one of the assessing organizations. In other words, we will go out and assess these companies. So we ourselves have to be compliant and pass this. So what we found was there are no registered practitioners in this field. There's none. So we have to create our own pipeline. And that's why we did the apprenticeship program. So we've identified that. We got people getting certain certifications, and when they're done with that, then they're going to come through our accreditation to get it done. But what I'm saying all this to say is that we are growing that pipeline. We have connections to people, but as an employer, we employ cybersecurity folks. We do it for the DoD. We get their accreditations done very successfully. We're actually working in several advanced areas to include security orchestration, automated response with AI. We even touched on cyber in space, believe it or not. We also get these accreditations done. A couple of our success stories, and I just found this out last week, Amy. One of the guys that was with us, has been with us for a long time, just got hired as the program manager for cybersecurity at the Wynn Hotel, doing exactly everything we've been teaching them. So we are definitely on the right track. You teaching governance and compliance. We're actually we're in the midst phases of an AI, so we can save money on this. So we've been testing it now, and give it about 30 days. I may be able to deploy one in a virtual environment to show it first, and then we can do that. So we got a lot of skills in this, and like you said, they don't exist anywhere, so we have to train our own. We have no choice, and so that's what we've committed to, we look forward to see the outcomes. But I know a couple of folks are making. One of my nephews joined it, making over 130,000. Got another join. He's going to be making that. So it's out there. But what we're doing is we have the same issues, but we're going to have to train our own stock. Because if you wait on it, I partner with UNLV. They're one of my partners, and they're going to be going through our program too, but they just don't have it. And they don't have the commercial, I'm the boss, this is what I need perspective on these things. So we provide that. So just putting that out there. Everybody want to reach out to me, let me know. But we're definitely doing it. I'm looking to start placing people with our company to help support, other companies. So that's where we are.
Thanks, Reggie. Other direct employers in the tech industry that would like to share on the demand side? Go ahead, Derek.
Hello, everyone. Derek Jumpy, a innovation strategy senior manager with MGM Resorts International. I think very similar to hopefully it's Dasha. Dasha, very similar to Dasha. I think the software engineering positions and entry level, tier 1 and tier 2 support positions in the technology area is an area of need for us. Acute challenges is just, we just wish there were enough, bodies in the market that have the skill sets that we're looking for. In terms of notable changes in the last 3 months, I know one of the key things that our talent and workforce team has recently done is launch an internship program very specific to these tier 1 entry level positions for tier 1 and tier 2 supports. Another thing that our team, our talent and workforce development team, has also done and continue has also done is, and I'm sure the group is probably familiar with this, a partnership with CCSD, where students can now receive credit for working on MGM, working at MGM while they're completing their degree. So while working at MGM, they get credit that actually helps them complete their diploma, which so far I think there's been high engagement, right, in that program that's attracting new talent within the organization. Notable changes over the past 3 months, in terms of the strategic direction of MGM, we're becoming a very digital company within that, especially within the technology, digital, and data vertical, where we are built, the goal is to build a technology company within the hospitality company. Short term, I think we have about 250 positions. Midterm, midterm that's growing to about 400, and long term in the next about 3 years is to fill about 500 positions just in this TDD vertical for MGM, and that is myself. So I'll put my contact information in the chat as well. So nice to meet everybody.
Wow, super helpful to share those projections for hiring too, and hope and hear about the value of that CCSD program. I think it's giving me some ideas, both the apprenticeship and internship feedback here for some future presenters to this group. Other direct employers in the technology industry that would like to share about the demand. And then I'll go ahead and open it up to others that work closely with employers. If you're specifically technology employers, hearing from them about demands as specific as possible as you can provide in demand, hard to fill, urgent to fill roles, acute barriers, and notable changes. Go ahead, Bill.
I'll go ahead and go. Hi, I'm Bill Regenhart. I'm the Director of Workforce Development with the Las Vegas Global Economic Alliance, LVGEA. We work with all the employers, IT and communication sector partnerships through our regional sector partnership. We've just had our second convening of the partners in the Southern Nevada area. And Derek, thank you very much for participating in our region. And Daja, I know that you participate in Workforce Connections as well, so we appreciate that. But we're constantly looking for those apprenticeship programs. One that we've recently discovered that really is going to start getting traction if we get employers involved and just raising their hand and saying, yeah, we would like to be part of that, is our software developer apprenticeship program. We just need to get the employers to step up and have a commitment to hire and get involved in those apprenticeship programs, because we can put them together all day long, but if we don't have the employers that are willing to step up to the plate and do it like Derek at MGM is willing to do with the internship programs, we're not going to get anywhere unless we have that participation. So that's what we're looking for. I'm here to help in any way that I can, and I know my counterpart George Hempy at the Las Vegas Chamber is willing to do so as well. So thank you, and my info is in the chat. So if you need anything from us, please feel free to reach out.
Thank you, Bill. Any other employers or those that work with employers that are interested in sharing feedback from the industry on the demand side? We will, at the end of the meeting, have the opportunity for partners to present, share resources, opportunities to engage on the supply side. But right now we're looking for that feedback on the demand.
Yeah, this is Alan Darney. I'm the training director with the Northern Nevada Electrical Apprenticeship, and what kind of just on the line of changes that we're seeing is demand has seemed to slow down for electrical apprentices right now. Although I think that it's kind of a smoke and mirrors game, because really I think what's driving it is the inability to get materials out on job sites. I have contractors that are talking about ordering materials for projects that are 56 weeks out to get switch gear and things like that to build projects and so forth. And so we really think that that's resulting right now in kind of a slowdown in demand and so forth. So just kind of an interesting twist, I suppose, on demand and barriers to getting people to work.
That's really great feedback. Do you have a list of, those that are interested when the demand picks up, when that supply chain smooths out, or is that not something?
Yeah, we continue to go. We have a selection process that takes a little bit of time, and so we're constantly continuing to recruit, and as people apply for the program, moving them through that process, and we have some pre-apprenticeship training that we do, and we continue to do that in hopes, that the supply chain situation is going to finally catch up with the demand that's out there, and we'll be prepared to fill those positions when they do become available again.
Great, thank you. Okay, last call for any other demand side sharing. That's great feedback, great information, and great details. So I won't call on any individuals that aren't speaking up, but we'll move on then to agenda item. We're actually going to skip ahead, come back to agenda item number 6. We're going to skip to agenda item number 7, just given some scheduling considerations for partner presentations. And we're going to start with Deputy Director Brian Williams of the Nevada Department of Corrections. Let's see. Oh, go ahead, Lisa.
Hi, sorry, yeah, Brian, D.D. Williams is out doing something else. Okay, so I'm the Deputy Director of Support Services for Nevada Department of Corrections, and I oversee basically everything that's not custody, and supporting, all the other departments. So this is a little different for me from my side. You guys are looking for employers. We're trying to get the offenders skills so that they can go out, excuse me, and get jobs so they, lower our recidivism. I think Deputy Director Williams spoke last week on some of the programs that we're doing. And so for us in IT, we're supporting them. We're working with Truckee Meadows up at NNTH. We have computer labs. We have a NASPO RFP out right now to provide tablets. Working with Google Education to try and do a proof of concept with Chromebooks down at Women's. We have a project coming up with the Office of Science, Innovation, and Technology in the fall to take fiber to all of our rural locations. We work with College of Southern Nevada down in Casa at our transitional housing. And then we're trying to figure out how we could put computer labs in all of our 7 main facilities to get the offenders education and skills so they can go out into the workforce.
I have a question to follow up on that. And if others have questions, please go ahead and put them in the chat and we'll help to facilitate that. But But I'm wondering, do you have specific training programs that, I know you mentioned a couple here, a couple of initiatives, but do you have programs that focus specifically on technical skills?
So one of the things that we're looking into is, and I talked to Dee Dee Williams about this other day, is teaching offenders coding. I know I went to a conference a couple weeks ago, and it's Corrections Technology Association. So it was 40 different states, and it's all IT people. And a lot of them have already started doing this, teaching coding, development, stuff like that, because they are jobs that, you know, are needed around there. So that's, I don't know when he's planning on getting that one going, but that is definitely something that we've been looking into. And teaching them, you know, how to use the internet, how to use, you know, it's probably been a long time since they've used, you know, Office or Microsoft products, and they've changed a lot. So teaching them those kind of skills, how to fill out a resume online, all that kind of stuff, so they can go out and get jobs. And the ones, excuse me, the ones at our transitional housing, they are doing those types of things. They're teaching them how to fill out resumes online, working with Excel spreadsheets, Word documents, that kind of stuff. So we work with Truckee Meadows, Camille Vega up there.
That's great. And so how do employers get engaged if they are looking to reach this workforce as people are leaving the system?
Excuse me. So, and you know, we also have ones that aren't technical, like the, you know, not the women's, they have cosmetology and stuff like that. So, and that would probably be more of a question for Williams as far as how they connect them to jobs. But they're caseworkers. Is that what you're asking? How they connect them to positions?
Yeah. Or how, as employers, you know, employers who are present or those that work closely with many employers, if they're interested in reaching this workforce, how do they get involved?
So their caseworkers work with them, and if they go out on parole or probation, they'll work with their case manager once they get on the outside. But we try to do it, you know, start looking for things before they get released. And that's stuff that once they get into transitional housing, they, you know, have the opportunity to use the internet and websites to go look for jobs. They have caseworkers, case managers at the transitional housing that help them. They know all the resources. Camille Vega, she knows, she's got pictures, you know, up in transitional housing of offenders that were her students that have now gone on to have these jobs. So she's got pictures of them up in there, and, you know, and there's some that are doing very, very well.
And then there's a question in the chat here from Ken Evans with the Urban Chamber, and he's wondering, is it possible to get a credential completion while incarcerated and or in probation?
Credentials as far as coding?
Yeah, if there's a credential or any type of certification that can be received while incarcerated or on probation.
Yes, yep, yeah, they do. You know, they can get certifications. They're doing, you know, we have a lot of them get their GEDs. They all kinds of, they can go on and get in certifications and a lot of stuff. They're doing automotive. I can't think of the name. Where they welding. They're doing welding classes and all that stuff, and they can get certifications. So a lot of them, we have classrooms, and the teachers come in, they teach them, they're doing hands-on welding, they're doing all kinds of stuff, then get certified. One of our issues right now is finding educators to come into the facilities. So we've been looking at more of doing virtual trainings. There's, you know, companies out there like Google Education, they do it all through that. There's Blackboard. So there's a lot of different companies that provide virtual education. So we're looking at some of those to try and offer more classes.
That's great. Yes, go ahead, Anne.
Amy, I have a question, and thank you, Lisa. Is there a prohibition against instructors entering the prison to teach classes?
Nope. It's just, it's hard to find them. And a lot of it too is, you know, people don't want to come into the facility. They think it's dangerous. But, you know, there's going to be, you know, there's officers, everything around. There's specific areas of the facilities that have the classrooms, the learning labs, all that kind of stuff. excuse me.
And if you had a preference, would you go for live instructors indoors, inside the prisons?
For some of them, like the welding class, because it is hands-on cosmetology. So some of them are better, obviously, for hands-on teachers, so they can show them how to do stuff. We've got the wild horse program at NNCC. When we get the wild horses, they train them and then we sell them at auction. And that's a great program for them to use. We have the automotive program where they can go in and they do auto body stuff on cars. I mean, you can take your car. My dad took his car in years ago and it got it, painted and all kinds of stuff. And it's amazing. So they're learning these skills while they're here so that, they can take these out and get jobs. And they do great work. It's great work.
Yeah, thank you. It's a great resource. I'd appreciate more information. We have over 2,000 businesses, and I think if they could get involved, let's help people to leave incarceration with meaningful work. We need their help. We need their hands and minds, and it's a great population to tap right now. Thank you.
And studies show, thank you. And studies show that, if they do education classes and stuff like this, the recidivism rate is a lot lower because they go out, they know they have a skill, they can get a job. The ones that don't, here's your $25, your bus pass, and, they don't know what else to do. So they do what they know how to do, and they end up back here.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
And Lisa, if you could share contact information for businesses that want to connect, but also there's a note in the chat from CSN that there are 2 courses that look like they might be ideal to get connected with this population. And so sharing more information about maybe education providers that might be on the call or others that may have resources for instructors. Support on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. And then there's a question right now about also about pathways for IT credentials. So it sounds like there's not a formal pathway for IT credentials, but you're working on some certifications or training for software development.
Yes. So, because that's relatively new. And like I said, I don't know when D.D. Williams is planning on bringing it on board. And I'm I was the chief of IT. I still do it. So I was going to help him, figure out like kind of the courses to take, whether it be, teaching them HTML or, CSS, any kind of scripting language, what they could do, kind of certifications.
This would certainly be a good audience to get that feedback from, for those specifics. So let me know when you're ready for that. And I can help to share that out with this group.
Yeah, and if anyone has, if they've already had a path, that would be good for them to take. If you want to share that, I mean, we're more than happy to, not recreate the wheel. So
we can help with that too. Wonderful. Any other questions for Department of Corrections? Well, thank you. Thank you for being here, Lisa.
Oh, thank you for letting us.
Excuse
all
me,
right.
Amy, this is Jay Johnson from Dieter. I'm sorry I was a little bit slow on the response here. I am interested in understanding what are some of the hindrances to internet access at the Department of Corrections.
So there's actually an NRS that says that they can't have internet. Yeah, so we did it. We're doing a BDR actually to try and get that removed. We do have, labs that they can go into, everything Ethernet. Facilities don't have Wi-Fi, and this is across the country that I learned a couple of weeks ago. So they all have the same problem. It's something Wi-Fi can be done. It just has to be done correctly. And then with the tablet RFP that we're doing right now, one of the things is the company that wins the RFP has to bring in their own network, however they do it. So they're not on the state system, not on our system. But the goal is to give them, tablets with possibly limited Wi-Fi, or they bring it back and they plug it into Ethernet so they can take and download classes and courses and go sit somewhere and do this on their own time. But the biggest hindrance is there's an NRS statute that says they can't have internet.
Thank you.
Well, I think you would get a lot of support from this group for changing that. So please reach out when you're ready for for that support from this industry group. I think that's a really valuable opportunity to engage.
Yeah, and like I said, we submitted a BDR to hopefully get that removed or edited somehow. Limited internet.
There's a question, Nancy. I saw your hand go first.
Thank you. Yeah, I thought that that there was an NRS passed in 2017 that addressed the internet issue in DOC. So just not sure about that. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I don't know what the number is off the top of my head, but
it's okay. And Director Wager, go ahead.
I just wanted to say to Lisa that we're also looking at using the virtual capability to help them with their VA claims and stuff. So if you'd have Deputy Director Williams reach out to me again, it's been a while since we talked, and anything I can do to support that, I will.
Great, thank you. I will pass it along.
A lot of support here. Thank you. All right. Well, then with that, I'll go ahead and recognize Gracia Perez Rodriguez, a skilled immigrant program officer with the Nevada Governor's Office of New Americans.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Amy, for the invite. I'm new to this group. I've seen a lot of new faces. I'm excited for the invitation. As Amy mentioned, I'm the Skilled Immigrant Integration Program Officer here at ONA. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but as of 2019, the governor created our office. It's the Governor's Office for New Americans. Our mission is to provide refugees and immigrants, our new Americans, the tools to succeed here in the state of Nevada. Having said that, recently my position was created, and what we want to do and what we're working on is on creating a strategy to help our refugees and immigrants be part of our workforce. So I don't know if you guys are aware of some of the numbers, but 1 in every 5 Nevadans is an immigrant. Most of them are on working age. And a lot of the immigrants that come here to our great state are already certified or come with a university degree, have lots of experience from their home country. And unfortunately, the programs that currently exist don't account for the additional help they require to succeed, right? So we have a lot of programs, we have different agencies, and everyone's working on silos. So what we want to achieve is we want to get all the stakeholders to talk, right? So we have our resettlement agency, so they already have the talent, right? And then we have our English classes, but they are not related to, let's say, or focused to a job to fill the vacancy that you guys have, right? So what we want to do in the next few months is create a pathway for our refugees and immigrants here in Nevada to be able to grow and take advantage of the talents that they already have. So they come here and probably they have IT experience, right? But they get here and what we give them is we tell them, okay, you go and take your English class there, right? And here's an entry-level job so you can pay the rent, pay your bills, and that's it. So we have doctors working as Uber. We have teachers that are working at McDonald's. We have, I don't know, IT people that are working whatever, right? So what we want to do is we want to work with the refugee resettlement agencies to locate that talent, right? To see what their background is, how can we help them, and find the employers that are willing to take the risk and are willing to support our refugee and immigrants, because unfortunately they face the same problems that everyone faces, right? Housing has been a problem, childcare is a problem, but then we have the cultural problem, right? Imagine coming from Afghanistan here, and all of a sudden, women supposed to work, right? Men has to be part also in taking care of our kids. So we have the English program problem, I'm sorry, and some of them are not digital aware, right? They don't know how to fill a form online. They don't know where to go to apply for a job, but that's what we want to help them with. So thank you, Amy, for the invite. She invited me here so that I could get to know the potential employers, tell you guys that we are working on trying to fix that problem with our refugee and immigrant community. I would very much like to talk to anyone, well, obviously not right now, but later on, if you guys have time, if you guys are interested in supporting our refugees and immigrants. I cannot tell you like we have 10 people ready to work, but I'm pretty sure that if we start talking in a few months, we could get a pipeline of people interested in IT, and CSN already has programs. We just have to tweak a little bit to get them to work for our immigrants. We have in the North, I could tell you, we have people that have come from Afghanistan and they have an IT background. So we're trying to work with our partners in the North to figure out how can we help them, because they are currently working a minimum wage job just to pay the bills, but we don't want their talent to go unnoticed, right? We want to work with them. And I mean, from what I've heard, I was late to the meeting, I apologize, but from what I heard, there's a lot of opportunities out there. So I'm going to drop my information on the chat. I would very much like to hear from you guys. I'm available for meetings. I could go to you, you could come to me. I'm open on video. And yeah, well, I'm an immigrant myself. I'm very excited to be here. This is something that touches my life. So I'm very grateful to talk to you guys and see the interest that you have in helping the talent that's already out there. So thank you.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. I have a question for you and for corrections. I'm wondering, are folks systematically entered into Employ NV or Employ NV, which is the state's job bank and job seeker database, both through when they're exiting through corrections or entering through refugee resettlement or other immigration services. Go ahead, Lisa.
That one, I'm actually not sure, but I'd be interested to find out and can let you know.
Hi, Amy.
Yes. Hi, Cindy. Thank you.
Hi. Thank you. Actually, yes, we have been meeting with the refugees. They've been coming into our office. We actually have hired one of them full-time here with the state, and he meets with them and gets registered in Employ NV and helps do job searches for them and works with training. So
thank you. I appreciate you answering that question. Do you know about corrections as well?
Anyone that comes in from corrections, we have a reentry specialist that they can meet with and get registered with Employ NV with anyone, but we have one specific person who works with reentry, one in the North, one in the South.
And so just to clarify too, that these are individuals with a wide variety of backgrounds.
Yes.
So both with refugee resettlement and corrections, you likely have folks with experience in technology, and so if employers wanted to reach these populations, they could go directly to the individuals that are presented today, but they could also post their jobs in Employ NV and reach out to the business success teams to get support accessing those individuals. Is that right?
That is correct. We actually have industry experts, navigators that work with the different industries, and we have somebody dedicated to technology, so they can reach out to Justin and he can help them, and we can get searches run to see who we have in our database, and I'll use all the tools in our arsenal.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that.
Okay, thank you.
And then there was a question in the chat, can software like MS Translator or similar apps be used in training environments to aid instruction until better mastery of English?
Yes, definitely. We haven't set, I mean, there's no one way of doing things. What we're working on right now, and it's been hard because there have been a lot of changes with our refugee resettlement agencies, is how are we going to locate the talent, right? Because we have a lot of people. Let me share it with you guys that when someone comes through a resettlement agency, they are required to be with them for 90 days. After those 90 days, they usually stay clients for a period of 3 to 5 years. What we want to do is want to create a system to share that information, keep track of who they are, what their background is, what their English level is. But yeah, I mean, if we find, like, for example, 5 individuals in the North that are interested or have a background in IT and have a similar English level, what we could do, or what we are trying to do, is trying to work with our partners in the North to find that path. How are we going to train them in order to have the abilities to fill out the position that is out there? In order to do that, obviously, we need to find the employers that are willing to raise a hand and say, hey, I have 5 vacancies, and I would be interested in hiring the people that you train, right? So as it right now, we are working on that. How are we going to get that information of our refugees? We're going to start with our refugees because it's easier. They come in, we have all their information, so it's easier to track. But I can let you guys also know that the Consulate of El Salvador is also doing something similar with their nationals. So we are starting to talk to them to figure out if there will be an opportunity to also work directly with the Consulate of El Salvador and see how their nationals look like, right? What their background is, what their English level is, see what training opportunities we can work out with employers. And yeah, I mean, everything's on the table as of right now.
That's great. Ingrid, do you have a question?
Yes. Hi, everybody. Thank you. So I'm an immigrant myself, so I'm really excited for a program like this. So thank you, Grace. Yeah, I do have a question, or maybe it's a feedback on the question after. Since I came to the country and all my friends that are here, I think the biggest struggle that they have finding job is the English situation. So they have all these degrees. Like I have a really good friend right now. He's a doctor and he's doing Uber. So it's the real thing. And imagine how much waste talent we have. My cousin just arrived. It's the same thing. You're going to work, you're doing whatever you can do that they don't have to talk with you because you don't know the language. So I guess the question would be, do we have any centralized program that all these immigrants, refugees can have access to English classes so they can learn? Because I think that's the first main issue to get in good positions and not just entry-level positions. And then the second question would be, do you have any way to get their info, the amount of just Cubans, I'm Cuban, that are getting to the Valley right now is just crazy. And because I'm experiencing this hand on hand right now with my cousin, I realize they're completely lost. They don't really know where to go. They don't have any place where they can say, okay, here is where I can get my English classes, or here is this opportunity for all refugees and immigrants. And they do have a lot of good knowledge that we can exploit and help our employers. So.
Definitely. And I know Nancy has raised her hand because that's her area of expertise, but we're working with Catholic Charities. We are aware that we, here in the South, most of the people entering is from Cuba. So here in the South, we want to focus on Cubans because most of them are university trained. I know Catholic Charities has an English program, but also Nancy, through the library system, they offer English classes and they have a lot more programs. So that will be like a good place to start. And Ingrid, we are currently working to build our advisory board. And from the information and the questions you did, I would like to invite you. I'm going to drop my information there. And if you send me an email, we would very much like to have you there, because that type of insight is the insight that we want. We want to hear from people experiencing that, and to see what we can do better, what we need to do, and how we can help you guys do whatever it is that you need in order to take your talent and take it to the next level.
I'm happy, super happy to help.
Thank you. And Nancy, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, if you don't mind, I would love to. So I oversee adult education in the state, and a big part of that adult education is English as a second language. We have programs throughout the state. All 4 of the community colleges have English as a second language programs. Then we also have Catholic Charities of Southern Nevada. We have the Las Vegas Clark County Library District. And we have the Northern Nevada Literacy Council. And all of the programs offer English as a second language, both in person, and then we have expanded a great deal the options for distance learning throughout the state. Amy has the contact information for our programs, and certainly could send out that information. We are also on the verge of having a new portal available for students that we will be sending out to any and all of our partners throughout the state. So you'll find that as many websites as we can get it on, we will have a portal for students to be able to get further information. And we do a fantastic job serving English as a second language students and getting educational gains from those students. So we have lots and lots of options there. And we still have room. We're not yet to pre-pandemic levels. And even if we were at a pre-pandemic level, we still have room for additional students.
Thank you, Nancy. Hearing what you're saying, and we can talk about this more, Grecia, in person. I think the gap might be is for them to finding out about these resources. It looks like they don't know. I'm telling you hand on hand, because I have somebody close to me that just got here this year, and they don't know this exists. And then it's like they're floating around not knowing what direction they could go to get these resources in hand.
Yes, and unfortunately, that is all too often the case, which is one of the reasons why we want to get the information out to as many partners as possible, so that no matter where they start, they can find the information for us. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing. I see some questions in the chat, but I'll call on Dasha and then George and then address some of those.
Thank you. And just for both working with our incarceration system as well as our immigrant system. So my ex is an immigrant, so I've gone through the conversation on both sides of this. But as an employer and as someone who works in human resources, my ask to the services as an employer is there's English, and then there's English for the workplace. And I would highly encourage that is a focus that we're talking to, because having ex-in-laws, for lack of a different word, but family members who, you know, they know how to go to the grocery store, that's not the same as knowing how to show up for an interview. And I would say the same, you know, I have a dear friend who's, you know, was incarcerated, and teaching him how to fill out an application and how to show up for an interview in all senses. Those kind of softer skills, the things that we, I think, inadvertently take for granted, we need to make sure we're speaking to those and teaching to those. And then I would challenge all of us employers to check our biases and make sure that we're prepared to show up differently in those spaces if we're willing to take on a population that doesn't maybe have the right representation in our workspaces.
Thank you for sharing that. And I will say too, I'll be sharing the chat, the questions, answers, contact information out after the meeting. So if you do see a question in there, just for the sake of time, that you can answer, you are welcome to do that too. But I'll go ahead, George, with your question.
Yeah, thank you, Amy, and good afternoon to everyone again. You know, along with what Daya was, is it Daya? Am I pronouncing that right?
Dasha.
Dasha, I'm sorry, apologies. So what Dasha was saying, we did some programs where they were industry-focused English-speaking programs. So we did it for National Tire and Battery. We did it also for a group of trucking companies for diesel mechanics. And we had about 500 trucking companies part of it. What's interesting is this, and I think we'll all appreciate it. In our country, the average person uses 500 words a day. That's it. Their vocabulary is approximately 10,000 words for most people. There's about 110,000 total words in the English language. But most people, their command does not go beyond the 10, and we only use 500 a day. Our focus in these programs that we did, we looked at 200 words in each one of these industries. So if we were to get together, for example, in the IT group, or if you did in healthcare, regardless of manufacturing, and you put 200 words together, the average person is actually going to be functional on that job for many of the jobs. And that's all you need. The other issue is if you teach English as a second language and you try to teach everything about it, you can be there for years before someone will get a job. We spent in El Paso, Texas, they spent $28 million approximately for 27,000 people who were displaced, most of which did not speak English. This was in the apparel manufacturing. And not a single person, believe it or not, got a job through those efforts because they were trying to teach them English. Yeah, it was a huge political thing. But we were working with the White House on it because it was so embarrassing. But because they were trying to teach what I call Shakespearean English. And all you need is a couple hundred words. We did it, it works. And the trick to it though is not only just for the employees, but you want to do it for the supervisors. Teach them the language in the people's home country. So for example, if it's Spanish, and then you have this much greater link of communication. So just food for thought. If we bring a group together, say in IT, enough companies interested, and then our post-secondary or our high schools could teach to these 200 words approximately, right? Then you've got a strong basis for teaching someone, and within relatively, we did it just for 3 months, as far as the initial 200 words, they can start working and they start sustaining themselves, which is what you all want to see, right? So just food for thought on that, and more than happy to talk to anyone if they have any other questions or yourself later.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I know, Gracie, you want to respond to that. When you do, can you also answer, there's a question about an intake process to determine if individuals already have a globally recognized certificate or credential. Can you answer both of those? Thank you.
Yeah, most of the people that come here do have their credentials. There's a process, every sector has its own process. If you're a doctor, you have to go through a lengthy one. If you are an engineer, probably it's going to be easier. It is hard to tell. What we want to do is we want to focus on the people that we have and the jobs available. So for example, if someone comes with an IT certificate, whatever that is, or however it looks like, and we find a cohort that is similar, we will work with the board or whoever we need to work in order to help them if it's not a international recognized certificate. If there's problems with that, well, we could also work on the policy side of things. It's still not clear. It's difficult, the certification part. So for example, an idea or the approach that we might like to have is, for example, if we get a doctor, it is very hard for a doctor to get their credentials validated, right? So maybe we want to start as a medical assistant, right? Get their English level, their working English level to the proper level, and then build from there, right? So that will be an option for those types of certificates. And on the other side, on what George was mentioning, a part of the pitch that I would like to make to the employers, sorry, that are right here is that yes, as George mentioned, we don't use that many words. And when we teach them English, what we want to focus as Nancy mentioned in the chat, is we focus on the work side of things, right? But I would ask you guys if on the employer side to see if we can work out a way for you guys to hire them, and probably on the first 3 to 6 months open a space for them in the company for them to receive that training. That could also be something we could look at, right? We can train them to do the job that you need them to do, and at the same time teach them the English that they will need in order to do that work. So we want to work with the employers, also the state stakeholders, to see how we can match our efforts, because I know there's companies out there offering retention bonuses, right? What if instead of having a retention bonus, we use that money to give them the training on English, right? To get them to where the company needs them to be. So that would be my one of the things that we would like to work with, and see how can we, meet in the middle.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for the engagement and the wonderful questions and insight. So I'm going to go ahead and recognize Director Fred Wager of the Nevada Department of Veterans Services.
Good afternoon. I just put all the contacts for us in chat, so please feel free to copy that while I'm talking. But I do want to address the population we serve, which is, of course, veterans and service members. By statute, we cover both sides. We work in conjunction with the Nevada National Guard for their folks and their population. NDVS serves approximately 225,000 veterans, plus those who are presently serving in the armed forces. That includes active duty, National Guard, and reservists. And we primarily assist them with VA benefits, but also ensuring they're able to obtain any and all state benefits. Our mission is to get veterans, service members, their dependents, all the resources they need. I'll hang up on that. Anyway, this includes our partners. So our partners are things like DEETR or Job Connect. Also Work for Warriors that helps National Guard members obtain their employment. We have links on various sites in our program to assist individuals in obtaining employments. And I'm going to show you these in a little bit, but I wanted to go over what we do first, and then I'll show you where you can help. I want to tell you right now, not all military personnel want to be security guards. We get a lot of that. People going, oh, okay, you got veterans. Well, I got some security guard positions open. The guy might have been an electrician in the military. He's not interested in driving around a car and checking on parking lots. So I want to put that out there right away. I don't mean to sound harsh, but that's the way it is often, too often. We get, all they want to do is hire me to be a security guard. So please think about that. We don't have the ability to track firm metrics regarding the number of clients or participants looking for work or timeline for engagement on that. We leave that up to DEETR and Job Connect and all those others that are absolutely working directly with those service members and veterans. We're more of a referral service. So our direct services are our homes. We have 2 veterans homes in the state. We are always looking for nurses and CNAs, certified nursing assistants. And we also have our 2 state veteran cemeteries. We're always looking for outside employees as well. And then we have veteran service officers who assist veterans with their claims with the VA. We only have 15 of those in the state. We're always looking to the legislature to increase that number, but as you've heard already today, some things have to go through the legislature, so we deal with that. I wanted to let you know with upcoming events and opportunities to engage. During the 2021 legislative session, the Nevada Transition Assistance Program was codified into NRS. NRS 417 is what we go under. This law requires NDVS to establish a program, which we've done. This assists veteran service members and spouses in transitioning to life as civilians. And so it's all done. It's online. I'm going to show it to you in a minute, but it's one of those ways to get them to the major concerns they have as they're getting out of the military. The top 3 concerns for service members as they get out of the military is, what am I going to do? What we're talking about today, employment. What am I going to do? Where am I going to live? And what education is out there for my family and I? And so we're talking about the service member, their spouses, and the kids. So often they're living on base. They may be moving here from another state and they go, oh my God, I was living on base and I have to pay what for rent? Oh my God. And so it's a very confusing time for them. It's really, really hard to adapt to civilian life. And so oftentimes these questions come up within a short time before they get out, but it could be just weeks or months, because I will tell you that military recruiters are on them constantly to re-up. Now, we want you to come back to us, don't go away. And they don't make up their mind until they're weeks or a couple of months out. And then we get the panic attacks. So that's why we want to try and help. The NVTAP was developed, Nevada Transition Assistance Program. It was developed because nationally, the Department of Defense has a TAP program. And the TAP program from DOD is run by DOD, the Department of Veterans Administration, and the Department of Labor. And they help them with resumes, they help them with those kind of things. But we tried to get in to say, hey, you got to talk to them about state benefits too. Why is it important to either stay here or come to Nevada? And we're ranked pretty high in the nation as far as veterans benefits goes, but nobody talks about state benefits. And we were told, no, we've got our set script and we're going by it. And so we created NVTAP, and that's why we codified it in law. So from now on, directors absolutely have to do this program. And we're really excited because we're going to do our first in-person TAP at the end of July. And so it's online. Like I said, I'll show it to you in a minute, but it's all about state benefits. All of our state partners will be there. A few others will be there as well that have to do with getting out of the military. But it's also for our veterans already living here. So we get a report from DOD about weekly of those who are either coming to or staying in Nevada as they get out. And annually, we get about 3,000 service members who are coming to or staying in Nevada. That's huge. That's a huge number, because these are highly trained individuals that want to work. And so they tend to be younger. A good share of those are retiring, but they still want to work. A lot of these who are retiring are only in their early 40s. They got in when they were 18 and now they're getting out at 20, 25 years. And so they're ready to go to work. And think about that person who's been in the military for 20 years, who's highly trained in HR, electronics. You have it, they're trained. They want to go to work. And so they're highly trained. And we've got Nellis Air Force Base here in Las Vegas. We've got Fallon Naval Air Station up in Fallon, Nevada, outside of Reno. And then we've also got the Marine Warfare Training Center, which is in Bridgeport, California. But a lot of their folks live in Nevada already. So all these folks getting out, and I just wanted to let you know that it's out there. These folks want work. And I'm going to show you a little bit about how we can connect. Prior to the pandemic, we had all kinds of job fairs. Oh my God, I don't know how many of those I attended a year, but they were out there. From my understanding, the job fairs so far haven't gone really well because we just don't have people showing up to the job fairs like they used to. Hopefully that'll change. We hope so, because we need employees as well. So with that, I do want to share, if I may, Amy, if I can share my screen and talk about some of these screens here. Let me know when you can see that.
Yep, you're good.
Okay, so when you go to our website, which is veterans.nv.gov, which I put in the chat, you'll see this blue ribbon, and right on the bottom of the blue ribbon, it says Nevada Transition Assistance Program. When you click on it, it takes you to this page. And you'll see on the top row to the right is employment. And so with that, we get them to go to the site, and it has different job opportunities. So one, of course, we're going to promote ourselves. We have NDVS job opportunities. That's primarily nursing jobs at the homes, CNAs, that kind of thing. We also have state of Nevada job opportunities. You need to know that veterans have a preference when it comes to state employment. And so any disabled veteran in the state who is looking to get a job with the state and qualifies has an automatic offer to interview. And then 22% of the rest of the veterans must be offered an interview as well. We have DETR on here. You can see that. We have military and veteran spouse employment. I will tell you that that's probably one of the hardest things is spousal employment, because they've been traveling from state to state to state, and reciprocity is not real big in Nevada. In fact, if I go to that spousal website, can you see that? Those are the 4 boards that offer reciprocity out of the 34 in Nevada. And so we need to do a better job there. Well, there's a lot of boards, as you can see, but only the 4 of those offer reciprocity. I'm going to have to, I want to mention this to you all because we have the Patriot Employer Programs. So what that is a short course online for your HR to take. So if you're an employer on this call right now and you're not a part of this, you can go online and take a short course, and it gives you the incentives. Everybody knows you can hire veterans because they're dependable, they're trained, they're really good, but what benefits? And there are tax incentives to hire veterans. And so this is my big push for the day is come and take our Patriot Employer Program. It's easy to take. And once you're done, you get the certificate signed by the governor saying you're veteran friendly and that you want to hire veterans. And secondly, you also get on the list of recognized Patriot employers. And I will show you that. We have the list right here. And all of these links go directly to those companies' HR websites. So this is a great way to connect with veterans. And veterans go to this website a lot to say, well, hey, these people are interested. Why should I go look all over the place when I can just go looking here? And so I just wanted to share those with you. That is a resource. This NVTAP in person, connect with Job Connect, Work for Warriors. Connect with those and make sure you're putting your job postings on those, because those are state entities who are going to be at our NVTAP in-person seminar. And we're coming up, it's July, end of July on a Saturday afternoon. We're providing the coffee and donuts and getting them in the door. And it's not a death by PowerPoint. I do want to point that out. When people come, I can get up and I say, hi, I'm Fred Weiger. I'm with Nevada Department of Veterans Services, and I can assist you with your claim with the VA. My table's right over there. Come see me. I will help you out. Next, hi, I'm with DMV. I'm here to talk to you about your license plate and how you can register your car now that you're a veteran. Hi, I'm with the assessor's office. And just like that, we don't want a bunch of people standing up there going, you know, here it is. I went through the National TAP program when I got out, and I sat in a movie theater at Fort Carson, Colorado, and spent 3 hours listening to Death by PowerPoint, and I wanted to go home. That's all I wanted. So, Amy, if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer, but I'll end with that. Keep it short.
Thank you. I do see Reggie's hand raised.
Yeah, just a quick question. I've seen all the agencies you reach out, which is fantastic, but I am a defense contractor and I do not have a relationship with you guys. I have one with the National Guard, both of them, and I do hire. I've hired several people out of there, but I'm just noticing I have no relationship with you. We need to fix that.
Easy to fix. I have my contact information in chat. I don't know if you got that. I can repost it if you'd like.
Could you real quick?
I will do that. If you would reach out to me, we will set you up and make sure that you get contacted and get become a Patriot employer. It's easy. Get your name on the list. And then your best bet, and I use the term disabled vet. Not every disabled vet is not able to work. And so they get specialized care as well with the Disabled Veteran Outreach Program through DETR. And they're great employees. And so as long as they're physically able to do the job, hire a vet.
I hire a large percentage of mine are vets. Large percentage.
Awesome.
Is that throughout the country or just here in Nevada?
Throughout the country.
Okay. Hire more Nevadans.
Thank you so much. So there's a question too for individuals with IT backgrounds. It's about the reciprocity issue. And do you know if it's as much of a concern with IT credentials, considering those are typically nationally recognized credentials? Do they receive those in the military?
That's a good question. I don't know, to be honest, but I will tell you, if you have an IT background in the military, there's a pretty good chance you've done extra education. You've probably done things on your own, especially if you know you're getting out. They've probably gone through extra training. The best thing you can do is call them in for an interview and find out what their background is.
Great, thank you. Reggie, I do see your hand raised. Did I? Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah,
go ahead.
Let me answer it real quick. The answer to that is some of them are global. Once you get one, most of the ones, if it's CompTIA or something like that, it's national, and some of them are global. So you can actually go to the site where they get them from, look it up real quick, and you can find out whether or not it is. But if they got them, normally they're global, or if not national.
Thank you. And thank you for reposting that question, Ken. So another question for IT positions, is there a way to connect with the 99th, is that Command Squadron, Comm Squadron, easy for me to say, personnel who are nearing a transition? For what it's worth, Lieutenant Colonel, oh, you are a Lieutenant Colonel, retired in Air Force Civil Engineer Officer.
Well, Ken, thanks for your service, first of all. I will tell you that one of the things we are doing with this NVTAP is contacting every commander of the base and all of the senior enlisted to share with their service members as they get out, hey, we're having this NVTAP and we're going to have Job Connect and Work for Warriors and DETR and everybody else there that's part of the state. So your best bet is to make sure DETR knows that you've got positions open so they can share that with the service members that are there. I'm guessing when they get there, and I haven't talked to DETR myself, our program manager has, but I'm guessing when they show up, they're going to have a list of jobs that are open. And if you have job openings, that's even better. But I can certainly reach out to the commander of the 99th and see what I can do about that and see if we can help out.
Great, thank you.
And George, you're absolutely right. Security clearance is a great benefit of hiring vets. They already have it.
Any other final questions? That's wonderful. I'd love to see this engagement. It's just perfect. So thank you so much for being here and presenting your programs, all three of you. Just incredibly valuable. I know there's going to be a lot of follow-up after this meeting as well. So we'll move on now to agenda item number 6, which is workforce and economic data. Just as in the last meeting, please think about the questions. You may put your questions in the chat, reactions to the data as it relates to your experience on the ground, what resonates with that experience and what might differ from that experience. So I will recognize Jason Gortari, economist with the Research and Analysis Bureau of the Nevada Department of Employment Training and Rehabilitation. Go for it. Oh, your sound's not coming through, Jason.
I probably broke it because I talked about him so much.
No. Try that. No, it's not coming through. Do a little test. And I can, I'll walk through the GoEd slides first, and you can test on your end. Okay. So our GoEd partners are unable to be here to present this data today, so I'm going to be sharing on their behalf. And we're really focused today on the in-demand occupation analysis. So this is a tool that's used by many, many partners across the state to understand what's in demand. What are the in-demand occupations? Can you see that presentation? Okay, so the in-demand occupation. So I'm gonna briefly run through how this is assembled, what it is, and then your call to action as employers or employer connectors. So advance, there we go. So these are all of the different factors that are taken into consideration when assembling this giant list of 750 occupations and ranking them in terms of demand for Nevada. I'll just go through, these slides will be posted. Oh, there we go. Looking at 2 different screens. There we go. So there's a target sector approach. So ranking these in consideration with GoEd's target industries, which you can see here. One of the considerations incorporated into the analysis are STEM scores, which were developed by Brookings. Location quotients, which is essentially how concentrated the occupation is in our region versus the rest of the country. Job posting analytics, so that's showing in a year how many jobs were posted for that occupation in a given region or in our state. Wages. Employment projections, so taking those trends from previous years and other information and projecting out how we anticipate an occupation will grow or shrink. An automation index, so understanding what technologies exist that might replace existing or that might reduce the demand on existing occupations, usually not replace. That was a bad word for this, but definitely increase efficiency of these occupations, which may place less demand for a number of individuals in an occupation. The 2021 report included a COVID susceptibility index. So that's like in-person working. So all of these factors are assembled together and weighted, and then a list is aggregated from that. So I'll show you the full list. This is the 2-digit level, so the highest level, these buckets of occupations. So you can see the score here and how they rank. But it goes into much more detail. You can see the 4-digit analysis and then the 6-digit analysis. And what GoEd is looking for now is the sector council input. So this is a whole bunch of quantitative data that takes quite a bit of work to aggregate and rank, and then they want to hear from you, your reaction, how this sits with you. So there's a little bit of homework, which I'm going to show you in a second. So the full list is posted on the GoEd website and the GoIn website. It looks like this. You can see these different levels. Oh, there's a 3-digit, 2-digit, 3-digit, and 6-digit. You can see these ranked here with their scores, the number ranking, and all of this information. And we do encourage you to look down at about the top 100 are the top in-demand jobs, because you can see that there's a lot with the same or very, very similar scores here. All right. And what GoEd is looking for is an analysis of the IT jobs or the technical jobs that rank in the top 150 of that overall list. So you can see here, this is the list of top IT jobs and then where they're pulled out from that overall ranking. And what they'd like from you is your sense of how this demand resonates with your own employment. So I'll send out this spreadsheet following the meeting, and they're asking if you could just put in your demand, rank them from, I think there must be 14, from 1 to 14, based on what you're seeing for your demand, and those of your colleagues in the industry. And then to return that back to Chelsea. Let's see. So that was a quick overview of some technical stuff. I don't know, are there questions out there for now, or is it something you'd like to look at and then follow up with questions for Chelsea when you get a chance? Oh, yes, Reggie.
Yeah, so I'm looking at this and I'm looking at them codes to look familiar. That's all BLS stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the BLS doesn't really codify exactly what you're looking for, because I was looking at the computer system analyst and the information security manager, and they kind of blend together. So in that case, how do you, I mean, I would make a note for Chelsea, just in an adjacent column. If you just make a note for her, we absolutely, the federal codes that are provided aren't always a great match. And even if you go down to an 8-digit level, it's still challenging, but this is the common language that we use. So any additional qualitative feedback that you can provide is valuable. And I do want to put it out too that we also offered in the Logistics Council, if you work with employers, if you're a regional development authority, a chamber, another industry group, we would ask for you to please share this as well, to get this feedback from as many employers as we can as the 2022 list is being developed. Um, 4,000 openings there. How can we ensure all these positions are listed in Employ NV? I think that's definitely a great question, Ken, and probably one for another day. I've been looking at the questions in the chat, listening to them here, and looking at the great responses from the DETR staff all over the state. And I think there's a great opportunity to provide a little bit more context there. All right, so I will share that afterward and appreciate any feedback that you can provide. All right, Jason. No! You want to try logging off and logging back or something? I don't know. Okay. He's going to keep working on it and we'll come back to you. All right, but we'll take some time now as you work on it. Oh,
can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Yep, I got a goofy computer system and it gets me every time.
That's all right. Sounds like you need some IT support.
yeah. I don't know what it is. But okay, so I'll share my screen. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you, Amy. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jason Gortari, and today I'll be presenting the labor market overview on behalf of David Schmidt, our chief economist. To begin, we'll start by discussing the current employment situation and then highlighting a few data products that we've been looking at most recently. Looking at the first slide, private sector employment in Nevada now employs more people than it did prior to the pandemic, up 2,500 compared to our February 2020 peak. This data is as recent as May 2022. We haven't quite yet recovered our total jobs number, in part due to the government employment, which is lagging behind the private sector, still down 5,500 jobs, as you can see right here, while total non-farm is down 3,000. We also still have a lot of dislocation as far as total jobs in the casino industry, which is down about 30,000 in the state compared to pre-pandemic levels. Next, looking at this tree chart, green on the boxes show where we've recovered and the red shows where we are down. The size of the boxes shows the overall industry size along with the share of total listed inside the boxes. Our most recovered industry in the state right now is transportation, warehousing, and utilities, which is that one in bright green and is up 21% from our pre-recession peak. All industries except for accommodation, government, other services, which includes your barbers, salons, and other miscellaneous personal services, like your wedding chapels, and the information sector are yet to fully recover. Information is 98% recovered right now. Looking at this next chart, we have a couple of different data sources and we're combining them together. In the purple, we have our total employment number from the CES program, which is the current employment statistics program. And in the red, we have job openings data from the Job Openings and Labor Turnover Survey. So with the red exceeding the blue by the largest margin currently, that measure is essentially telling us that we're at the highest demand we've ever had for workers in the state because openings are exceeding employment levels, especially with total non-farm only being 3,000 jobs down right now. We're almost fully recovered. So as you can see, the excess of red shows that there's a lot of demand for workers right now. Overall, the share of job openings has been prevalent nationally and everyone everywhere is looking for workers. And that's true in Nevada as well. So now we are looking at the average earnings by industry from the current population survey and specifically the wage changes over the year. The two different colored lines represent the two different types of workers in this data series. The red line is average hourly earnings of all employees, and the blue line represents average hourly earnings of production workers. The gray shaded area represents the 20th and 80th percentile of all states to help give perspective on how Nevada compares to its national counterparts. Generally, wages have increased in most industries over the past year, but looking at the construction industry right here, interestingly, we've seen a lot lower average hourly wage increase in our construction wages in comparison to the nation, hovering around 0. Conversely, if you look at the leisure and hospitality industry, which you can't really see in this chart, but you can see where all the states have increased wages in this industry because you have a larger competition for workers. In all states, there's been a larger response to increasing wages in the industry, especially in Nevada, who is above the 80th percentile and is up about 15% in wages over the year as of April 2022. Moving on to this next chart, it looks at the total number of hires and total number of job openings, and how that's changed over the past year. It's important to note that we're looking at national data here because it's not available at the state level. We have number of openings on the vertical axis and total number of hires on the horizontal axis. If the arrow is moving up and to the right, it means that there's an increasing number of openings and hires. So your black line in the bottom right represents 1 opening for every hire, and the red line represents 2 openings for every hire. Broadly, a lot of the industries will fall in the middle range between those 2 lines, where they're not quite 2 openings for every hire. As an example, if we had healthcare on this chart, it would be well above the red line due to the large number of openings we've seen there. Looking at both mining and logging and construction, both the number of job openings and the pace of hires have been rising, which makes sense with the demand for housing and transportation infrastructure lately. Looking at durable goods manufacturing and manufacturing, up in the top left, we currently have a large number of openings in these industries, which is reasonable with the national increasing demand for manufacturing workers. Next, looking at the total turnover we've seen in Nevada, it's interesting if we point our attention to the national rank measures in the second chart here. Nevada ranks in the middle of the pack for most part in all measures, hiring, job openings, and layoffs when compared to the nation as a whole. Beginning in the middle isn't necessarily a bad thing. It just means that we're searching for workers like everyone else in the nation right now. If you look at current rates compared to the highest rate we've ever experienced, going back to the early 2000s, the series high there was 10.6%. And then the high over the past year was 7.9%. So we're still pretty high, what we've been seeing over the past year, but not the highest in the series history. Knowing that this isn't just a Nevada situation and that many of our national counterparts are experiencing similar circumstances, it's important to know that this problem is occurring for everyone and it's not just Nevada specifically. Next, this chart looks at people who have been unemployed for 15 or more weeks as a share of the total employment in the state. So basically, how much of our unemployment is long-term versus short-term. Looking at the gray shaded area, which represents the 20th and 80th percentile of other states, and the dashed line, which is the national average, Nevada has a significantly higher share of total unemployment in this long-term category, as it exceeds both. Currently, Nevada's unemployment rate is at 4.9%, and the national is at 3.6%. And the difference there is about 1.5 points almost. With that being said, Nevada does have higher unemployment in its long-term category of people who have been unemployed and looking for work for more than 4 months or 15 weeks. So there's still some sort of disconnect with potentially available workers, particularly in Southern Nevada, as most counties in the state, aside from Clark, are closer to the national average. 15 of our 17 counties as of May 2022 are below 4%. So it's really that Clark County driving up the state rate. Finally, we have a chart that shows the labor force participation rate and how it's changed over time. It's interesting to see that Nevada is much lower in participation than we used to be. The big question here is why and what is driving that cause? That's the million-dollar question right now. Even as we're going through the boom and bust of the Great Recession, we're still seeing that declining labor force participation rate. looking at the facet chart showing labor force participation rate by demographic and Washoe and Clark counties. Washoe is in the blue and Clark is in the red. The dashed line is the national average, and the time period is 2015 to 2019 in 1-year average increments. Looking at the chart, Washoe and Clark counties are generally at or above the national average across most demographics. The first 2 boxes are age. The next 2 row of boxes are race. And then we have sex on the 5th box row. And then lastly, population by education. However, one trend that stands out in this rate of participation is the participation amongst our older population. So starting at the 55 to 59 group, you can see our participation is below that national average, especially in Clark County. And one explanation for this is that we're likely having a higher share of retirees amongst our older populations, especially in Las Vegas. So if you're not working, but you're living in the state, you're counted in the labor force participation. To conclude, looking at some data measures that haven't changed much over the past quarter are the unemployment rate, which has been largely stable around 5%, currently at 4.9% as of May 2022. Also, our unemployment insurance claims have stabilized around 13,400, which is at multi-decade lows, historically speaking. Pre-pandemic, around this time, they were around 15,000. So while they have leveled off, they are still extremely low. And with that, that concludes the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Again, these slides will be available, and I think there's a lot of good questions that are coming that this data inspires. So we will move on to agenda item. We're going to go to partner introductions. Where are we? Agenda item number 8, which are partner introductions. I really want to make sure that the partners that are present in the room have an opportunity to introduce themselves, share key resources, opportunities to engage, or other calls to action. You can use the raise hand feature now to queue up, and I'll work through those, and then we'll open the floor up to others that are able to use that feature. I'm going to put prompt in the chat here. Now we only have about 10 minutes left in this. So if you need to jump off, that's fine. Please feel free to share those details in the chat if you haven't had an opportunity to introduce yourself. All right, there we go. So when you are called on, please give an introduction, and then any specific metrics that you can provide around the number of individuals that you're working with or those that might be looking for work, especially remember in the technology industry. We're also curious about the timeline for engaging with those individuals. And then again, any opportunities to engage or upcoming events that you can share for employers present. All right, Justin, go ahead.
Okay, all right, hello.
Okay. Yep, you're good.
All right, fantastic. Hi, everyone. My name is Justin Stafford. I'm a business solutions account manager who represents the technology industry with the Northern Nevada Business Solutions office. So just we as an office, to kind of give you a quick rundown of what we do. We advertise open positions for employers through Employee NV. So we search the state's largest database of active job seekers and then filter for any prerequisite skills an employer needs. We provide like neutral interview spaces for hiring events in our office. And then we also say if you have someone that may have good soft skills, for example, but lacks the technical background that would be required for an entry-level position, especially within the technology industry. we can help them kind of transition into a new career with several of our Silver State Works programs, or we can utilize the Sandy Grant or Grow with Google program to help develop a wide range of qualifications that might be a little bit more specific to what you need in an employee, and might not be able to be covered just with simple on-the-job training. And then aside from that, we can also provide labor market information just to help make sure the competitive wage aspect is there to attract the best talent that is available, seeing as the market is very intense right now. But yeah, just kind of wanted to say hi and let you guys know we're out here.
Thank you. Do you have information around the number of individuals that are looking for work?
So I actually was going to try to pull that this morning, but Employee NV has been down all day.
No.
Yeah, so so I'm coming to this meeting with a smile.
Okay. That would be
yeah,
really great.
I'll make sure to put my contact info in the chat pod though. And yeah, if anybody does have any sort of questions or would like follow up on that, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to help you out.
Yeah, I think within the industry too, it'd be great to know, what folks in there have experience in technology.
No, definitely.
Thank you. All right, other partners that would like to introduce themselves and share some opportunities to engage. I know you're out there. Yes, Nancy, we've heard from you about adult education. I know we have folks from the Nevada Department of Education on too. Other side of Nevada Department of Education.
Go ahead. Amy, I will say that Craig had to step away, so I don't know that he is still on.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Amy?
Yes, go for it.
Yes, thank you. Suzanne Silver with the Reno Sparks Chamber of Commerce. I know that Jason said it's sort of the million-dollar question as to why our labor force participation is down. It however, doesn't seem that alarming to me, given baby boomer retirements, the cost and accessibility of childcare. So women, or sometimes men, can't re-enter the workforce or enter to start. Also, while I completely respect and applaud the number of technology-related jobs that all of you bring to this equation, if you notice, the tourism, hospitality, service sector is just bleeding. And many of the folks we've talked about find that those jobs to be their first point of entry. And they have a lot of barriers, whether it's English as a second language, it's lack of education, or it's the inability to transfer a certificate, or even the transportation needed to get to community colleges or training programs. So I think it's a perfect storm where the state is at its highest peak in terms of employees. We continue to bring in large companies with 2,000 available jobs, and they compete with the small businesses. And I'm not sure I see a way out of this except taking a pause and trying to mitigate the growth until we catch up in education and workforce training, and help everyone understand the incredible resources that all of you have talked about today. We always tend to be on the same calls and finding out about veteran services and certainly immigration services and the Office of New Americans. That's all great, but the people who need those services aren't necessarily the ones learning the information. So I don't have a specific point, except that we're in this sort of Bermuda Triangle that we've never been in before, where we're increasing our population, we have vast numbers of jobs unfilled, and we have many people not seeking work or don't know how to seek work. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that perspective. I think that the labor force participation chart is interesting because of how it relates to other states, so that Nevada is on the lower end of the trends, or has been dropping in trends of participation compared to other states. So there's an opportunity to dive into what some of those specific barriers are. But yeah, reaching folks is huge, and definitely opportunities there to increase engagement. However, technology cuts across all of these industries, and it's something we talked about during this first council meeting. And we have many small businesses represented here in technology, in addition to large hospitality and accommodations industry companies represented. So I think it's definitely cuts across in the need for these technological skills. Other introductions from partners, particularly those that are able to share some opportunities to engage and engage with the populations like Anna's talking about that might be looking for work. All right. I do want to address one question that came up in the chat earlier about credentials and the list of credentials in IT. And there are many lists in Nevada, and we are working on, partners are working on how to make that a little bit more accessible. There are many initiatives that are working together on this. So we've been talking about using the next round of these sector council meetings to bring some of that information to this group for feedback. So keep an eye out for that. It's a good segue. That next meeting will be September 26th at, I believe, 2 p.m., but it's posted on the website, and I will make sure to get that out in the follow-up. So before anybody else, final call for introductions? All right, so before we move on, I do need to just ask if any voting members arrived after roll call to please identify yourself so you're marked as present, but I don't see those two. All right. So the final item before we, oh yes, Ken.
Yeah, very quickly, just wanted to introduce myself. Yes, I'm at the Urban Chamber, but beyond that, I'm also the vice chair. Hugh Anderson from the Vegas Chamber is the chair from the Governor's Workforce Development Board. I appreciate all the insight. It's going to be very helpful as we try to do our part to deal with the disconnect and a few other things that were brought up. So glad to get this firsthand insight. Thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you. And thank you for introducing yourself. All right, so the final item before we adjourn is agenda item number 9, which is public comment. So many of you have had ample opportunity to introduce yourself and share, but this space is required for other members of the public to provide comment. As a reminder, there's no formal action that may be taken on any issues not included in the posted agenda. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person, and please raise your hand to be recognized for public comment. All right, and if you have public comment and aren't able to raise your hand, you can unmute yourself. Just want to make sure that you have space for that. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your participation. This has been an incredibly informative and valuable conversation. I'm really looking forward to continuing in September or in between. So hearing no further comments and no further introductions or feedback, I'll move to adjourn this meeting. So thank you for participating.
Thank you so much, Amy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thanks, Amy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.